Hi, I'm Tracy Sharman, and welcome to CTE Know Before You Go. CTE stands for Career and Technical Education, and I'm the Career Connected Learning Coordinator. So I'm here today with Nate Bowman and Paul Minoski, and we'll start with you, Paul. You're a Fort Vancouver welding teacher. Can you tell us a little bit about the welding program at Fort?
So the welding program we have at Fort, so we offer, for Fort students, we have a couple of intro classes, but our big thing we're trying to get is to expand our magnet program, which runs from 8:30 to 10:30 and has students from all over the district. So we have Skyview students, Bay students, Fort students, and Columbia River students.
So it's open to all school districts. It's 10th through 12th grade, and we're accepting magnet applications right now. So you can go to www.vansd.org/choices, and you can fill out your application. All applications must be submitted by February 27th. So make sure you get those in. How did you get started in welding, Paul?
High school, actually middle school. I'm from the Midwest, and our program, or the school I went to, we had an intro class when we were in junior high, and I took it in high school, and then I got my degree in technology education. So I took welding and casting in college. I taught it for a few years, and then I went a different route and taught a lot of pre-engineering for a while. And then when the opportunity to come back to Fort and head up this program arose, I jumped at it. We have a wonderful shop. We have a great facility. We have just great equipment and everything, and it's a really great opportunity for the students.
Awesome. And welcome back from paternity leave.
Oh, thank you.
And congratulations on the baby. And I think Mr. Bowman, Nate over here, had filled in for you while you were gone. Is that right, Nate?
Yeah, that was kind of a cool opportunity. I work for a company called Central Welding Supply, so we actually supply the welding gas, wire, some of the welding equipment and things like that to the facility. So we kind of became friends that way, and he's like, hey, you used to teach welding a while ago. Do you think you could sub for us? And we just kind of made it happen. And I did 7 days or whatever, I think it was, 7 classroom days. And it was really kind of cool to go from not teaching for a few years to going back to that high school setting and, being with the students. It's definitely a learning experience, and it helps me with my job and, working with other schools and, kind of understanding the challenges that instructors face and things like that, in this day and age, because it's different even just from a few years ago.
And one of the things we strive for in career and technical education is to make these experiences as real world for our students as possible. And we want the employer feedback to know, what should we be teaching our students? What do they need to know in the real world? What are some things that you've seen in the welding program that are really applicable, or skills that students need to know before they get out there in the real world for welding?
That's one of the really big things that Paul and I have been working on, is because a lot of these welding programs have kind of, welding kind of in particular, but, HVAC, carpentry programs kind of went by the wayside for a really long time because there was such a huge push for kids to go to college. But now that, we have the skills gap and there's a lot of opportunity there, and, particularly in this area with, manufacturing and things like that, there's a lot of opportunity to, for students to find careers. And these programs are now getting revitalized, but it's different than it used to be. So what Paul and I did was we kind of try to figure out what best ways we can better. How do I say this? We ended up doing an externship where you spent 2 weeks as a welder in a local weld shop.
That's right. We had you placed at Advanced Welding, I think, over there on Highway 99, and Dan took you under his wing, and you were out there for 40 hours during summer working for him.
Yep. That was good for me because, again, too, kind of the thing me and Nate have been talking about since we've been kind of collaborating is that, at the end of the day, I'm working with teenagers. I've been working with teenagers for, this is my 9th year teaching. I don't work in the industry, so, it's impossible for me to know, without having a partner from the industry, it's impossible for me to know what exactly is going on out there. So it's nice to bridge the gap.
And we're always looking for employer members to our CTE advisory committees that help inform our curriculum for our career and choices classes, our career and technical education classes. They're offered at the middle school and the high school, although at this point welding is only offered in high school. Can you tell us a little about what students can expect when they start the welding program at Fort?
I guess the biggest thing is safety right off the bat. So we have to cover that to make sure, that kids are safe and it's a school environment. But the biggest thing is basically when you're starting the program, you don't have to have any knowledge of it, any of it. You can just basically say, hey, this is something cool I want to try. And we have kids that have been doing it for a while. We have kids that have never done it, and just come with a level of enthusiasm. That's all you really need.
It's interesting when you talk to the students about why they're there. I think one of the students said that it was the fire. I saw fire in welding, and I knew that I wanted to be a welder. Someone else, like, is it Elena?
Yep, Elena.
Just fell in love with welding and knew that that's what she wanted to do. So it's really interesting. Nate, how did you find welding again?
Yeah, that was kind of that's kind of what happened to me. I was my dad owned a construction company, and I remember the first time I saw welding, I was like, I think it was probably like 5 or something like that, and it just was like, don't look at that, because it's it's bright, it's
like
dangerous.
An eclipse.
Yeah.
You want to
yeah,
look.
yeah, you wanted to look at it.
You gotta
but,
get a special helmet just to be around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's already cool,
Yeah.
right?
So I mean, it just really looks so cool. I mean, anytime you see anyone welding, no matter where they are or whatever they're welding on, it's just that blue light, the sparks, and you're just like, wow, that's really cool. And then as I kind of went through school and started talking to guidance counselors and trying to figure out like what I wanted to do when I left school, the shows like Monster Garage and American Chopper and Junkyard Wars and stuff like that, all those shows were coming out on TV, and it just was like the perfect storm. I was like, man, like you get paid to do this stuff, and so I just made a plan and just kept working in the industry and just kept doing more and more schooling, and I've been welding for 17 years now, so since I was 15.
And I think that's something students don't realize when they see a car or a repaired car or an auto body shop that's welding. Or we have a big marine presence here in the Northwest, so a lot of the kids talk about getting their scuba certificate and becoming an underwater welder. What are the career pathways? Like, how do you start a career in welding?
I think like the thing I've been telling a lot of students is think about everybody that are any of those people going to a place and just asking for a job? And the answer is always no. Like, that's how I got a job in 2010, I think it was, or maybe 2009. Like, I had gone to a welding school, which is basically like your introduction. So it doesn't matter whether it's a high school welding program, a college welding program, a 6-month, trade school, something like that. But it starts that kind of conversation, and it starts that, like, it opens those doors for you to where you can, like, you can go into a place that welds, any place that you want. If you just go to the front desk and say, hey, I'm a student at this school, I'm looking to find a place to work or intern or anything like that. And if you just ask and, you drop off your resume, maybe you call them again a week later, a couple weeks later, or you keep going back in, like, that's really the best way to get a job in the industry. Like, it doesn't get any easier than that. You just got to show up.
Well, I tell these kids too, I'm like, this is an opportunity that you have. Like, I mean, most kids you're going to leave high school with, well, what are your skills? Well, I can use PowerPoint and I can use Microsoft Word. And it's like, well, what if I can MIG weld? What if I can TIG weld or, stick weld? Like, what if all these things that people, like, coming out of high school alone and having that skill? I mean, it's powerful.
You could totally get a job right out of high school welding. Absolutely. Without a doubt.
And it doesn't have to be either I'm going to college or I'm going to work. It could be I'm going to work and they're going to pay for college, or it can be a partnership. Sure. Or so there's lots of different pathways to a successful career. One of the things that we've got to do is on the backside of Fort Vancouver High School lies Kyocera and their manufacturing company right here in Fort, and they've partnered with our welding department. Can you tell us a little bit about some of those projects, Paul?
Last year they had a manifold system that they wanted us to do, which is basically like their engineers designed it up, and it ended up being about, I think it was almost a 30-foot 6-inch pipe. You remember working on that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They gave us the plans. We went and said, I think we can do this at our shop. They said, okay, these are the materials, and I said, okay, let's make sure if we can do a good job on it. And we ended up being able to get it done in, I think, about a week and a half or 2 weeks. And I think it's there. We just saw it yesterday. It's up and running in their area.
And it's amazing what it's doing, right? Tell us about some of the things that Jeremy Leftman over there told us, that the efficiencies that it's created for Kyocera.
So what it sounds like is that this system that they designed at Kyocera and we built at Fort is reducing their waste by 70%.
Nice. That's pretty sweet.
It's pretty great. At the time, I mean, I didn't really realize what they had in turn, but when we get to see it and everything and how it actually works, it's pretty incredible that we were able to do that with high school kids.
Yeah, so they were using the manifold for getting wax off parts,
Yep.
so they were able to eliminate the wax because they were able to incinerate more. So the waste produced by the wax was eliminated by 70%, which was pretty amazing. And it's pretty high speed, and they said, there was the welding was done right, there's no leaks. And so because of the good job that Paul and his students did, and Nate with him, they commissioned another project for you guys yesterday, right?
Yep.
So good stuff.
Nice. I'll have to take a look at that.
Yep, I got the plans in the car.
Sweet.
So anything you want to add, Nate, for students? I know you said you got to get out there and do it. How about telling us a little bit about the equipment that's in Fort's welding department right now?
Yeah, so the cool thing about Fort is we actually have a lot of high schools that I've gone to maybe only have like one type of equipment, like whether it's just stick welding equipment or just stick welding and MIG welding equipment. And oftentimes they're just, they're not very high powered things. So like you think about companies that build like ships and tugboats and barges and a lot of the local manufacturing, heavy steel fabrication, that kind of stuff. Those require much larger pieces of equipment. And Fort actually has several of those larger pieces of equipment. So one of the things that we're doing is we're replicating a lot of the same types of materials, material thicknesses, wire and gas, all those things that local manufacturers will be using, and we have that right in our classroom.
Awesome. What are some of the tools that the students enjoy working with the most, Paul?
It kind of depends. I mean, we're trying to basically give them we're doing a welding shop as well as a metal fabrication shop. So we're
Right.
trying to figure out. I like to open up to the kids, like, if this is something like, you're gonna have a kid who just really likes cutting torch or doing torch
Yeah.
cutting. I mean, we found that out. There's like, so you'll have a kid that like that, or some kids are really getting into the prototyping stuff, so they really like get into the 3D printing that we're doing. A lot of kids, they'll. A lot of kids like to do, MIG welding, stick welding. We've recently got a Tormach CNC mill, so some kids are want to get into writing code for that, or just the manual machining. A lot of kids like to get on a lathe and just basically, do projects on that. So it's really whatever they find their niche in.
So you've got virtual welders that we take out to our magnet fair, so the middle school students are able to check it out, which is a lot of fun. You've got your real welders, CNC machines, a CNC machine, lathe.
The plasma table.
Yes, we have a
CNC plasma cutting table that we just kind of got up and running. We're still in the process of like moving it to its new location, but we have a plasma cutting table that we can cut probably, I think, a half inch.
You can do
on
half
that.
inch through that, yeah.
Yep. So that's a really big in manufacturing. So for students to be able to see that process happening, being able to design parts in CAD and then print them out essentially on a piece of plate steel, that's going to be really helpful. For them to kind of see some real world use out of that kind of thing.
Because prior to coming to Fort, Paul, you were at Skyview's SMT program?
Yep, I taught in the SMT program at Skyview. I taught pre-engineering for 3 years. It's also another great program for magnets.
Yeah.
We're still on the magnet part.
Magnet
right?
applications
yeah,
open.
Also another fantastic program, and they have at Skyview. But down here we have a lot. Like I said, we're kind of the center for like as far as our big equipment and everything. It's just the building really supports it.
And Fort Vancouver High School has a computer lab in the welding department where you guys are doing 3D
Correct.
modeling.
We have a computer lab with we use Autodesk Inventor for our CAD program, and we do a 3D printing.
Wow, it sounds like you guys have it all.
Yeah.
And it sounds really cool because at Kyocera, when he gave you the plans yesterday, he said have the kids write up a bill of materials and let me know what you need. And so they're going through the full experience from top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Well, gentlemen, before we wrap up, is there anything else you want to add?
I can't think of anything. Yeah, I think we covered everything.
I think we're good. I guess go Trappers.
Go Trappers. And if you're interested in the Fort Vancouver Welding and Fabrication Program, please apply online at www.vansd.org/choices, or just go to our website and you'll be able to get more information. The deadline is February 27th. So thank you, Nate. Thank you, Paul, for being with us today.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
Tracy.